What's up guys, Ender Unknown here. I'm back for episode 4 of our Dungeon Crawler C# tutorial series, and today we're going to be making the game loop. Finally. So to do this, we're going to go into our game engine and get started. So if you can see, we just right now start by setting the encounter to our combat encounter, combat 1, and that's pretty much all we do. Well, we want to be able to make these combat encounters programmatically, and I think that this shouldn't be too challenging to do. So yeah, we're going to start by going into combat encounter, and we have up here combat encounter 1 or whatever, but I think we're just going to make a way to randomly generate this. So we want a public static combat encounter called generate encounter, and generate encounter. And pretty much we're, excuse me, going to be making random, like, different texts or whatever that we can do to do this randomly. So, yeah, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do is just make our encounter. So yeah, combat encounter is going to equal our new combat encounter. We need parameters such as title, which we're going to call fight. The prompt we are going to programmatically generate here, but we'll just put that as a temporary one. Actions, I don't think we have any default actions. Yeah, so we'll just make a new list. New list, action button. And an enemy, which we will also programmatically generate. So enemy, enemy equals, probably do enemy dot generate enemy. And we have to make that, of course. So I guess we'll start there. We'll go start by generating a enemy. Just a computer notification. I don't know if you guys can even hear that. Yeah, so public enemy, public static enemy, call generate enemy. It's gonna take in some parameters here. We're gonna do some stuff with like randomness. I think it'd be cool to make what are those called? Mad Libs. It's where you take a different combination of like adjectives and nouns and you put them together in a prompt and you get a very unusual unusual response or whatever. So we'll do something like that for generating enemies' names, I think. So for right now, we're just going to want a new enemy because we have a name, which we're going to generate, I suppose. So this will just be a placeholder. Our max health also going to be a placeholder, and our power is just going to be 2. We're also going to need to populate the enemy with like an inventory with items. But for right now, we don't really have that many items, so this shouldn't be too challenging to do. And of course, there's like power level, so we'll have to figure out how to scale it when we do like leveling, but we aren't going to worry about that for right now. We're just going to make it so that the enemies can be randomly generated. So yeah, let's start with the name. So, like I said, we were going to try to do this sort of Mad Lib thing. And for that, we're going to need a list of names. So, and I suppose this could be an array. An array. String called name mod 1. So these will just be modifiers to our name. So you guys can come up with a bunch of these, but I'm going to just arc Undead. Hmm. Strong. Powerful. Yeah, a bunch of just other adjectives or whatever. And then we're gonna have a list or an array of I don't know, like enemies, enemy names. And how it's gonna go is it'll be like, or no, these will be enemy titles. So what it'll go is it'll take one from this top list. So I guess we'll choose Arc, and then it'll take one from this middle list and append them. So it'd be like Arc Wizard, Arc Warrior, Zombie. I don't know. What else? Elf. Sure. We'll go with that. And then these will be like a name. Names. Enemy names. And I suppose titles could also be more encompassing. So we could just, and yeah, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna, instead of having specific names, the title will be the name. And, yeah, we'll just add in like fire, ice. Poison. So it'd be like the undead fire wizard or strong poison warrior or some just some crazy combination of these. And of course, you guys can generate more. I don't want to sit here coming up with different things that sound good when uh, they're all combined together. And I suppose arc would probably make more sense down here. And I guess we'll. Hasty. Sure. So for generating enemy, the enemy name, string name is going to equal. We're gonna make one of these special strings here. It's gonna equal the name mod 1 of the index random helper dot rand dot next maximum value being our name mod 1 dot length, and then we'll go space and add in the next one. So this is enemy titles, and it's literally going to be the same thing. So enemy titles at the index of our random helper. Random helper, random, next. And of course that'll be the same enemy titles length. And the nice thing about, oh, what's wrong here? Oh, here. The nice thing about Visual Studio is it will actually append down a line if we need it to, if we just hit the edge here. So we can just keep typing, or at least it should do that. So the final one would be enemy names at the index of random helper. Yeah, rand.next. The integer will be enemy names.length. And that should be all good. So then instead of putting in this temporary value, we will actually be able to put in our just name. So this won't go into scaling with the power level or whatever, but we will eventually be able to figure out how to make that work. So for like the enemies, I don't know, what is this max health? We're just gonna do our random helper do roll. I suppose for a level 1 enemy, let's do a d4 of the quantity, I don't know, 2, and then we'll add 2 to that. So the minimum health value would be 3, and the maximum would be, what, 10? Leaning in the average of about, I don't know, somewhere in the middle. Upper part of the middle. Yeah, so, and then power, of course, we'll just do another random helper dot do roll, and I would say we do a two-sided die, which isn't even really possible, it's like a coin flip, and we'll add 1 to no, we won't add 1 to that. Yeah, so it'll either be 1 or 2 will be their power. Then I also want to add something. I want to add an item. So let's go find our weapon base. I want to. I don't remember how damaging the generic weapon is. Oh, here we go. Maximum damage of 5. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll just call this, I don't know, knife. And we'll rename that knife. And we'll just give the weapon, or the enemy, eventually we'll maybe do weighted probability once we add some more items, but for right now I think we'll just give them the items.weaponbase.knife. Or I suppose we'll add a short sword, sure. Base, short sword, and damage calculation will be just a return random helper dot do roll. We'll make it a 6-sided die. We'll make it an 8-sided die, no plus or anything. And I suppose you have to, yeah, there we go, like that. Okay, and back in enemy, we'll just have a random chance of being anyone. So I guess add items, we can use inline statement here. We'll do random helper dot rand dot not range next between, I guess we'll just add in 4, so that'll be 0 1 2 3. If that is equal to 0, then we'll put in the, oh, if that is true, so it is equal to 0, it'll be items.weaponbase.shortsword. So they have a very small chance of having a short sword, and in the other case they get a knife. So yeah, that'll generate our enemy. Of course, with titles like Wizard and Zombie and Warrior, we're going to want different equipment. And maybe we will make a way, not maybe, but later we will make a way so that if we generate a wizard, the wizard's going to have whatever element it is. So if it's an ice wizard, we'll have a frost weapon. I think frost is one of the damage types that we want to add. I don't know. Or if it's fire, it'll be scorch, etc. Anyways, that should be all we need to do to generate our random enemy. So back in combat encounter, we're just going to get this as our enemy. For our name, or our prompt, we're going to want to come up with another list of prompts. So I suppose we'll do a private string array called prompts is equal to a new string array. And we'll just write out some prompts. So you turn the corner and see space at the end of the hall there is a blank. I don't know, just 3 basic ones here. Looking into the room Please be more descriptive if you're making your game like this, and add a little more, uh, I don't know, description and flavor to the words. I'm just being very quick here because I care more about the coding, and I'll let you guys come up with the stories and whatnot. So yeah, looking into the room, uh, a menacing. No, we'll do looking in the room. You see a. There we go. You have to word it so that you can just add the enemy name at the end. So yeah, prompts. Oops. So then for our prompt, we're going to uh, select a prompt. So prompt, and I suppose we'll make this a video, or not a video, a variable. So we'll do string prompt is going to equal our prompt. Come on. Prompts, and at the index of random helper dot random dot next with prompts dot length. What does not like about prompts? Oh, prompts need to be static. Yeah. So that'll get the random prompt, and then we were going to want to append. Actually, we don't need a space at the end of these. We'll want to append on the enemy's name. Which will be what, enemy dot name period, and then we'll add in the enemy's name, and then a colon, and then the amount of health they have. Current health. There we go. And then of course we just need to set this equal to prompt down here. New action enemy, and that should be all we need to do here. So we're gonna just straighten all this out, and we'll return our encounter. So back in the game engine, now that we have a way to get a random encounter, we need to actually start the game loop. So right now we just set the encounter, and I mean that's fine, but that's pretty much all we do. We're going to need a way to determine when the encounter is done, and it'll need to continue on to the next one. So we're going to make a method to do this called public. We don't want it to be static. We'll just have a public void called do next encounter. And yeah, so how we're going to do this is we're going to pick a random encounter off of a list that we're about to make, and then we'll just do game.setEncounter. So I suppose combat encounter, we don't really need a list because we did a random generation, so never mind. So do next encounter is going to be as simple as doing game.setEncounter combat encounter dot generate encounter, because this is the only one that we have. So at some point we will be doing some random generation or randomness here to figure out if you're gonna come into a shop or a different type of encounter. But for right now we just literally have combat encounters, so there's really nothing that we need to worry about there. And then of course I'm going to replace game.setEncounter with doNextEncounter when we start the game. So yeah, then the final thing that we're going to need to do to make this a actual loop is in our combat encounter, or just in our encounter in general. Here we go. We're going to want to add in a public virtual void on finish. And I don't think we're going to need anything, but essentially on the finish, what we're going to want to do is GameEngine.instance.doNextEncounter. And that'll set the encounter to the next one, and therefore should continue our loop. the last thing we have to do is actually call unfinished. So we're gonna go grab our game. Look in the code here. So yeah, we have a set encounter, and when we set the counter, we do all this stuff, and then we do need to have like a way to end it. So I suppose that would be counter specific. So like in our combat encounter, we have start. When the enemy is dead, we're gonna need to call that end, or whatever it'd be called. So we'll just add that down to our game loop here, because each of these actions runs a loop. And so yeah, we'll do. I do want it to be possible for the player to like read what it says. So we're gonna actually have to create an action called continue, but this should be pretty easy to do because all you have to do is if the enemy is dead, then what we're going to want to do is our we have a list of these. What is it called? Encounter. It's just called actions. So we're going to want our encounter, so actions dot add a new action button with the text called continue, and the do action, which we should be able to do encounter with our lambda. Yeah, there we go. So we'll do game engine dot instance dot do next encounter. So yeah, it'll just add this button if the enemy is dead. And I suppose we could also just do actions dot clear so that we couldn't just keep attacking the enemy even though they're dead. So yeah, let's go test this out. Just wait for it to load. Builders, oh, yeah, that's my bad. The weapon, we got rid of that. We'll just change this to knife. We have one more step that we need to do before this is all working, and that is in our game class here. We need to make a method called refresh actions for an encounter. Come on. Counter. There we go. So, yeah, pretty much what we need to do is, you see how up here we make a new custom button, and for other custom buttons, we add these to the action layout controls. So what we're gonna have to do is action layout.controls, and we're gonna clear that. And then we are going to have to pretty much do exactly what we did up here. So for each action button in counter dot actions, we are going to want to create a custom button. Action event E is going to equal a new action event. I suppose we could literally have just copied and pasted from above to save some time, but controls dot add our button. So pretty much this will just force the interface to redraw all of its controls, button action controls. So yeah, based on the new encounter. So we're going to go back into combat encounter and add that down here. So we're going to need to do I suppose we'll just build this into the encounter function. We're going to have public void called refresh actions. And what refresh actions is going to do is grab our game engine dot game dot refresh actions with the encounter this. So in our combat encounter, we should be able to just call it refresh actions. I can type today, counter refresh actions. Now when we start everything, and we take down our strong poison elf, we can continue. And of course we're going to have to clear that again, but that's pretty easy to do. I forgot to add that. So now, yeah, continue. Craziness. That happens. We also will probably need to figure out a scroll bar for this layout. Yeah, as funny as that is, we're gonna stop that. And one thing I did not mention is I put encounter in front of all of these. I think that part will have been cut off of film because I had some issues that I had to go fix. But yeah, it would be encounter.actions.clear, encounter.actions.add, etc. So just make sure you double check your code right here. Anyways, to fix that very interesting issue, in our game, whenever we start a encounter, we're going to have to do our encounter, and I suppose we'll make this a method as well. So we'll do public void clear actions, and we don't need an encounter for this. And pretty much all it's going to do is action layout.controls.clear. So literally what we did here. And I suppose we could replace that like so. And we're going to just clear actions up here like that. So that should fix everything. So we use the sword. We got the zombie. We could continue. We'll use the knife. They hit us for actually quite a bit of damage. We're at negative health now. That's a thing. Now we're doing. Oh yeah, -1 damage. That's because when our character dies, it doesn't do anything, and it returns a -1 because it thinks I shouldn't be doing damage. Yeah, so we should be able to continue like that, and our health stays and our actions stay. The last thing that I want to do, and of course we're going to make this more meaningful later, is when in our combat encounter, when the enemy is dead and we end the encounter, I actually want to add the enemy's equipment into the player's inventory. So to do that, pretty much all we're going to want to do is get our encounter.player.inventory.add our enemy and our enemy's inventory. So actually this will be add range. Like that. So when we play and we kill the undead ice wizard, we continue, we should have the undead ice wizard's knife. Now, right now that's going to be kind of boring that we're just stacking up basic weapons, but as we add in more interesting enemies and encounters, we'll be able to, I don't know, build upon that. And like I said, there's going to be a more meaningful way to interact with your inventory, so it's not you have 10 knives all piled up in here. Really, eventually I'm pretty sure this is going to represent equipped stuff, and you're not going to be able to use all 10 knives because you only have 1 or 2 of them equipped, or something like that. I don't know, just some thoughts that I am planning. Anyways, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. Again, as always, I really appreciate your guys' support. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Ender out.